Good morning, everyone.
Morning,
Any
sir.
que- morning. Any questions from what we discussed yesterday?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, uh, yesterday I have asked like Coca-Cola is buying a part of the Parle, like the beverages side, and what about that shares and all that? The Parle has a separate shares and the separate investors will be there for the beverage side, and what they all sell their part of the shares to the Coca-Cola, or like they want to clear about the shares and all of that.
See, when you are buying a particular asset, you need to understand the two kind of an acquisitions or two kind of an buyout that happens. One is an asset buyout. In an asset buyout, you're buying out a particular type of an asset from the company. Could be a brand, could be a product, could be equipment and stuff like this. So in that case, you are not getting any voting rights in the company. So, for example, if Coca-Cola is buying, so suppose Parley brands like Limca and other brands, then they will not get any equity shares of voting right or management right or decision making right. And that's the reason why Parley decided, okay, you take these brands and let me work, or let me continue to be an owner of the company, but you take these brands. So which means the ownership and the decision making remains with the Parley, but certain brands has been sold to other companies.
Like what will be the particular shares of the Parle? Like if Parle is 100% with the beverages and the biscuit market, they are holding the part of that. So the total capital structure becomes smaller of the Parle.
Nice. So there is no change in that. So what will happen? So suppose Parley is holding 100% shares prior to sell out of these brand. After sell out of these brand, Parley will continue to own 100% of the shares. The only difference would be the Parley will sell these brands. So these brands will move from the balance sheet of the Parley and will come on the balance sheet of the other company. And in return, the other company will pay cash to the Parley, because it's like selling something. There's no change in the equity ownership of the company.
Okay. And the management decisions will be taken by Parle only. Like
Will continue to be taken by Parley.
yeah. And this also depends on agreement. Like management will be the
Yes,
buyout one.
yes, 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 yes. So I'm not saying every time it will happen the same thing, but in a Parley example, this is what happened. In certain cases, it is possible that when Parley is selling its brand to, let's say, some other company, they are not selling it for the cash. They might be selling for the equity shares as well.
Okay.
So it will depend upon the structure of the deal.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? And any other question?
Sir, will the merger and acquisition have to be approved by a regulator or government? If- Because they are two companies mutually coming together.
It depends. Which industry are we referring to? For example, in the banking sector, yes. In the
Okay.
banking sector, if one bank is acquiring another bank or merging with another bank, yes, there is a requirement that we need to take an RBI approval. Case two, so suppose, yeah, if in the Indian auto sector, one car manufacturing company is being acquired by another car manufacturing company, or there is a merger, there's no need to take an approval from the regulator. However, there has to be a notification. You need to inform to the regulator and the stock exchange. So it will depend from industry to industry. In certain industries, there is a requirement to take prior approval. In certain industries, there is no requirement to take prior approval, but you need to inform to the regulator.
Okay.
Anything else,
Uh,
guys?
yes. Informing the regulator means it's SEBI.
Yeah, in most of the cases, it would be SEBI at least.
If it is not listed, then
Again, this SEBI, see, I don't know whether you're aware about the legal side of the Companies Act, but in India, the SEBI is not the regulator for the listed companies. SEBI is a regulator for company. As long as you get a legal status called company, be it listed or unlisted, SEBI becomes your regulator. When you get listed, the respective stock exchange becomes an additional regulator for you. So Deepak, so suppose if you have a company or your organization where you are working, if that's not listed, still SEBI, you need to govern by the SEBI rules, because the legal status of that entity is company, and you will be governed by a Companies Act. For example, Ematicus is not a listed company, but Ematicus still need to follow the requirements of Companies Act, because legally they are registered as company. In Companies Act, you have certain requirement for listed companies and you have certain requirement for unlisted company as well. Deepak, does this answer your question?
yes, partially. We can have a when you drill down means you'll inform us
Let
of
me give you another
later part
example.
of
So
yes.
let me give you another example to this. For example, ICICI Bank. Now, ICICI Bank has two regulators. One is RBI, because it's a bank, and another is SEBI, because this bank has a legal status called company. That's why I have two regulators. Similarly, insurance. So let's assume ICICI Lombard. So ICICI Lombard, because they're into insurance, they will have one regulator, which is IRDA, and the second regulator again will come out to be SEBI. Plus, because they are listed, suppose they're listed on NSE, so NSE also becomes their regulator, or probably they need to govern by the rules and the requirements prescribed by the NSE as well. So मैं आपको यही समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि depending upon your industry, depending upon whether you're listed or not, your magnitude of or your compliance requirements keeps on changing, and accordingly your regulator will keep on changing. But the SEBI, the moment you register yourself as a company, you need to comply with Companies Act, certain provisions of Companies Act, and because the Companies Act is driven or is being or comes under the purview of SEBI, that's why you by default, the moment you incorporate yourself as a company, the SEBI becomes a default regulator for you. सो अगर आज आईसीआईसीआई बैंक अगर कोई ब्रीच करता है या कुछ कुछ फ्रॉड करता है या कुछ कुछ गड़बड़ करता है which is not as per their banking act but it is something else, so SEBI will step in and RBI will step back. RBI will not get into those investigations. SEBI will take those investigations. But if ICICI Bank does something which is an exception or which is a breach to a banking act, not the Companies Act, then SEBI will stay back and the RBI will step in and will conduct those investigations. Deepak, does this help?
Yes, yes. Means when we'll later able to know about more on this part, it will be clear at that point of time. More.
ठीक anything else, guys?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Subhash. Yes, Subhash.
Hi, good morning, sir. What
Yeah.
is the difference between the joint venture and acquisition, sir?
हाँ वो मैं करा रहा हूँ, कल ज्वाइंट वेंचर कराया नहीं, सो विल डू ज्वाइंट वेंचर टुडे.
ओके. एंड एक्चुअली मुझे एक कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर करना है कि इसमें सब एक कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो रहा है कि एक्विजिशन का भी सेम प्रोपोर्शनेट रूल्स है, जॉइंट वेंचर का भी तो सेम ही है ना. इफ यू हायरिंग द वन कंपनी ए एंड बी, सो इट इज आल्सो जॉइंट वेंचर.
The joint venture मैं समझा रहा हूँ. So if your question pertaining to what is joint venture, how is it different from acquisition, how is it different from merger, वो 5 minute दे दो, we'll come to that. I'm just first trying to take any questions from yesterday. If any, if once we're done with that, then I will start off the new topic, which would be JV only. We'll start off with JV today.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from yesterday? Anybody else? Any other question, query? Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. In case no further questions, so let's come to now JV. So yesterday we discussed acquisition, we discussed merger, and the third that we discussed today is JV. Now, what is JV? JV is so two things that you need to understand for JV. The JV is a temporary. So when just suppose we have two companies A and B. When A and B continues to be A and B individually, but they come together for a specific purpose and create something, that's called as JV. So JV is created by two companies, and this is for a specific purpose or time or a specified time. once this time or purpose is done or achieved, it goes back, which means the JV dissolves. So let me explain this further. So suppose we have companies, suppose A and B, ठीक है, और A और B ने डिसाइड किया कि ठीक है चलिए कुछ कुछ साथ में करते हैं. Let me put name to this. So for example, let's put A as Bajaj Auto, and B is suppose Mahindra. Okay. So what they decided, so when Tata launched this Nano, so it was a great threat to everyone. Okay, Maruti. So any idea, guys, when if Nano would have become a success, okay, so किसको सबसे ज्यादा हिट होता, किसके लिए सबसे बड़ा थ्रेट था वो? मारुति का 800. हेलो,
Maruti.
I don't think so. That's not my assessment. Okay, I have a different view on this. Okay, and in fact that's even Maruti.
सर जो
I don't think
3-wheeler
Maruti
ऑटोज हैं उनको होता.
I don't think Maruti would be the of course Maruti को threat था, but Maruti से ज़्यादा वो बजाज के लिए threat था. Because if you look at the structure of Bajaj, so Bajaj जो bikes sell करता है, especially जो Pulsar and some of those 150 180 cc bikes, so you would have seen some families who will have husband, wife, probably, and one kid or probably two kids still. So there is definitely a need of a four-wheeler. Correct? It's not safe, and it's not probably correct to have 3 people or 4 people traveling on a bike. But given India में जो lowest car अगर Nano को हटा दो, तो Maruti 800, which was replaced by Alto, which somewhere used to start from 2.5 lakhs. उससे नीचे कोई कार नहीं थी. ठीक है. So Bajaj was selling bikes in the range of, so these bikes were in the range of, so suppose 60,000 to 85,000. So let me put numbers to this. So we're saying Bajaj was in the range of 60 to 80k, right? Okay. This is Bajaj bikes. Okay. And then we're referring to Maruti. Okay, जिसकी starting car was somewhere from starting range from 2 to 2.5 lakh onwards. Okay. Now, what Nano was trying to do, so what Nano was trying to do, or Tata was trying to fill this gap by placing something into this segment. Now, to the extent that I was involved into this entire Tata deal, my understanding this is that they were pretty clear that they are not trying to replace this Maruti car. They're trying to create a new structure here. So now, which means in India, there are 2 categories of people who buy this bike. The first category of people who have a passion for bike, which means we're talking about those people who has a capacity to buy the car, but still they're buying the bike because they want bike to be there. ठीक है. So इनको Nano से कोई threat नहीं था, because they will continue to buy the bike And the another big chunk of the customers of this category was those who are couples, or probably a family with one or two kids, who ideally should be driving this car from safety perspective or from comfort perspective, but because from 60 lakhs, from 60 or 60 or from 80,000 से सीधा 2.5 lakh की jump मारना उनकी financial capacity से बाहर है. That's why they are surviving, or they're working with this Bajaj 60-80,000 car, 80,000 bike to commute or to take care of the traveling needs. Hence, अगर यहाँ पे टाटा अपनी नैनो लॉन्च कर देता है with a price range of let's assume 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh, तो ये 70,000 की बाइक के वाले के लिए to jump to 1.5 lakh कोई बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है, and all these people will start moving towards nano. अभी pause here, कुछ doubt, comment, कुछ query हो सकते हैं. Any doubt on this? Any comment? Anybody wants to add anything on this if your understanding of this case was different? Okay. So that's why my assessment is it was a bigger threat to Bajaj rather than a Maruti, because somebody who has a capacity to buy a 2.5 lakh car will not, majority of the people will not downgrade towards nano. Okay, but the people who are buying the bike will definitely upgrade to nano. ठीक है, so ये बात बजाज को भी समझ आ गई थी. ठीक है, so Bajaj recognized this at a very early stage of these announcements that this would be a great threat to their segment, especially in this segment, the segment 2. Segment 2 is those people who do not want to buy a bike, who ideally wanted or should be into the car, but because their capacity from a financial perspective doesn't give them ability to buy the car, they land up in buying the bike. So that's the second category. The first category of those, which is those bike lovers who has a passion to drive or want to drive the bike, वो bike के पास ही रहेंगे. That's not going to go away. So ये बजाज का प्रॉब्लम था, बट बजाज को अगर इसको ओवरकम करना है, सो दे वांटेड टू गेट इनटू 4-wheeler टेक्नोलॉजी, और बजाज के पास कभी भी 4-wheeler कैपेसिटी था ही नहीं. So Bajaj so far in Indian markets have been into in fact in the international market as well, they have been into 2-wheeler and into 3-wheeler segments. They have never been into 4-wheeler segments. So ये problem था बजाज का. On the other side, Mahindra, ठीक है, Mahindra wanted to be again wanted to launch a small car, which would be again in the range of Nano or Maruti, somewhere into that zone. But Mahindra के साथ problem ये था कि Mahindra को 4-wheeler technology है. Mahindra is always into the cars along with the tractors, but Mahindra के साथ problem ये था positioning का, target customer का. So अगर मैं आज Mahindra car बोलता हूँ या Mahindra brand बोलता हूँ, so you don't associate Mahindra brand with the small car. You associate Mahindra brand with the again SUV, heavy commercial vehicles or tractors. You associate Mahindra brand with those. So that's a problem for the Mahindra. So Mahindra, in spite of the fact they have a 4-wheeler technology, but they will not be able to fit themselves into the positioning of their brand in terms of connecting with the customers with the brand called Mahindra. Whereas Bajaj, who has a connect with the customers, क्योंकि जिसके customers होंगे नैनो के, वो customers कौन से होंगे, जो already existing customers of Bajaj है. So Bajaj का already उनसे rapport है, उनका positioning है, connect है, relationship है and stuff like that. ठीक है, but Bajaj के साथ problem ये था कि Bajaj बस 4-wheeler technology नहीं थी. Any doubt in this? Guys, any doubt in this? So मैंने इसके साथ साथ आपको नैनो के केस भी थोड़ा काफी कुछ बता दिया है. Hello.
No, sir.
So what does this mean? This means so यहाँ बजाज था, ये महिंद्रा है. So they decided, okay, let's come together with a joint venture. Okay, so this becomes a JV, and the objective of the JV was to roll out a blueprint ब्लूप्रिंट में सारी चीज आ जाती है, डिजाइन आ जाती है, इंजन आ जाता है, प्रोटोटाइप आ जाता है, सब कुछ आ जाता है. So the objective of the JV was to roll out a blueprint for a car which will be somewhere in the range of Nano and Maruti के बीच में कहीं पे होगा, ठीक है, which will try and compete to certain extent with Nano and to certain extent with Maruti. So ये objective था इसका. But that does not mean कि Bajaj as a company खत्म हो गया और Mahindra as a company खत्म हो गया. So Bajaj and Mahindra continues to be two different company for a specific purpose or for a specific project. They decided to come together. तो जब वो साथ में काम करेंगे तो वो उसी पर्पस के लिए काम करेंगे, किसी और पर्पस के लिए वो साथ में काम नहीं करेंगे. That's called as joint venture. You're joining your hands for a specific venture, for a specific purpose, and then once that venture is done, once the time is being done, this B goes from this JV goes off, and this B goes back to the original Bajaj, and this M goes back to the original Mahindra. So that's called as JV. कुछ डाउट है तो पूछिए JV. The important thing that you need to remember in the JV is this piece. It's for a specific purpose, and it goes back once that purpose and time is done. We'll pause here for 30 seconds. कुछ डाउट है तो पूछिए. The difference between JV and merger or JV and acquisition, जो दिन सुभाष कोई पूछ रहा था कि what's the difference? The difference is that merger and acquisition are more permanent, are more long term. JV are generally short term or temporary arrangements.
बट जेवी के इन केस में, हेलो,
या
मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि जो जेवी के केस में, तो जैसे ए और बी कंपनी है, दोनों ज्वाइंट वेंचर होते हैं, बट उनका जो बैलेंस शीट होता है वो तो कंसोलिडेट बनते हैं.
नहीं,
बनते तो सेपरेट, बाद में कंसोलिडेट किए जाते हैं ना.
JV में JV का खुद का कोई बैलेंस शीट नहीं होता है.
जेवी का नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, एक कंपनी का बोल रहा हूँ. सपोज ए और बी दो ज्वाइंट वेंचर कंपनी में, तो ए का सेपरेट बनेगा और बी का सेपरेट बनेगा, देन उसके बाद कंसोलिडेशन किया जाएगा ना.
नहीं, इस वाले एग्जांपल में बजाज का बैलेंस शीट अलग होगा, महिंद्रा का बैलेंस शीट अलग होगा, दोनों का कंसोलिडेशन नहीं होगा.
ओके. इन एक्विजिशन में बोल रहे हैं या जेवी के केस में?
JV के केस में बोल रहा हूँ, एक्विजिशन के केस में नहीं बोल रहा. JV के केस में जो मैंने आपको स्क्रीन पे एग्जांपल लिखा है बजाज एंड महिंद्रा का, so if the Bajaj and Mahindra decides to do a JV and let's assume the name of the JV is BM, so the balance sheets would be in the name of Bajaj and there would be a balance sheet in the name of Mahindra. These will not be consolidated and there will be no balance sheet in the name of BM.
Okay. That means if there is all the separated prepared by balance sheet, each and every company.
Yeah. In case of joint venture, the balance sheet would be for Bajaj and Mahindra, two separate balance sheets.
Separate balance sheets, not a merge.
No.
Yes. And in case of acquisition?
In case of acquisition, as we discussed yesterday, so अगर company X है and then company Y है, and let's assume company X has acquired 60% stake of Y, then तीन बैलेंस शीट्स बनेगी. एक X, so बैलेंस शीट्स या फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट तीन बनेगी. एक X की बनेगी, एक Y की बनेगी और एक X प्लस Y की बनेगी. इसको बोलेंगे स्टैंड अलोन, इसको बोलेंगे स्टैंड अलोन और इसको बोलेंगे कंसोलिडेटेड. इन एक्विजिशन ऐसा होता है, बट जेवी में नहीं होगा ऐसा.
सर जेवी केस में जो बैलेंस शीट बनेगी या प्रॉफिट लॉस बनेगा, उस केस में कैसे शो करेंगे कि मतलब जॉइंट वेंचर में जो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉसेस हुए हैं या जो भी एक्सपेंसेस है या बैलेंस शीट में जो चीजें जानी हैं वो कैसे कंसोलिडेट होंगी, दोनों की अलग अलग कैसे फिगर आउट होंगी?
सो जेवी जो होता है, जॉइंट वेंचर में जो भी प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस होगा, जेवी में एक परसेंटेज डिफाइन होता है।
ओके
लेट्स अज्यूम बजाज का 50% है और महिंद्रा का 50%, जो इसका प्रॉफिट होगा 50% वो बजाज में चला जाएगा और यहाँ से 50% महिंद्रा में चला जाएगा और इसकी बैलेंस शीट में उतना पोर्शन आएगा। आई विल
Okay.
नॉट हैव अ सेपरेट बैलेंस शीट इन द नेम ऑफ जॉइंट वेंचर।
ओके सो जो भी परसेंटेज जॉइंट वेंचर
जॉइंट
का होगा
वेंचर
उसके अकॉर्डिंग
आप समझने की कोशिश करो कि जो जॉइंट वेंचर्स होते हैं वो एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम और स्पेसिफिक पर्पस के लिए होते हैं।
यस
और फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट वर्क्स does not work on the principle of a temporary period, it works on a principle of going concern।
यस
तो गोइंग कंसर्न का मतलब क्या होता है? ऐसी एंटिटी जो हमेशा चलेगी,
लॉन्ग टर्म चले।
तो फिर कॉन्ट्रारी हो गया ना इसके अगेंस्ट। तो इसलिए जेवी में जो टिपिकल जेवीज होते हैं, अब कुछ लीगल स्ट्रक्चर्स में जेवी फिट करने के लिए आप लॉ के साथ खेलते हो, वो अलग जेवीज है। उसमें तो कंपनी का पूरा आप उसको कंपनी बना देते हो, बट उसको सिर्फ बोलते हैं जेवी। मैं उस जेवीज की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं प्रैक्टिकल जेवीज की बात कर रहा हूँ जो रियलिस्टिक जेवीज होते हैं।
ओके
तो जैसे बजाज और महिंद्रा ने एक स्पेसिफिक कार के ब्लूप्रिंट को बनाने के लिए साथ में आए। वो जब ब्लूप्रिंट बन जाएगा तो वो वापस चले जाएंगे अपने अपने बिजनेसेस में।
ओके। हेलो।
जैसे अभी बहुत सारी कंपनीज है, बहुत सारी फार्मा कंपनीज है फॉर दिस फॉर दिस वैक्सीन फॉर द कोविड। lot of the pharma companies have created JV and they are sharing those knowledge to come out with a vaccine। So जिस दिन वो वैक्सीन बन जाएगी उसके बाद उसका जो भी ड्रग या जो भी कॉम्पोजिशन डिसाइड होगा, उसके बाद वो दोनों वो कॉम्पोजिशन लेके अपनी अपनी कंपनी में अपनी अपनी वैक्सीन बनाएंगी।
ओके। Okay, got the point. हेलो हेलो। हेलो।
हाँ जी।
हाँ हेलो सर।
कुछ पूछ लो या फजलो।
सर ये जो जॉइंट वेंचर है तो इसमें तो एक प्रोजेक्ट स्पेसिफिक प्रोजेक्ट के लिए दो कंपनी इन्वॉल्वमेंट होती है ना
हाँ,
सर?
प्रोजेक्ट के लिए भी हो सकती है।
कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट कोई भी रियल एस्टेट का हो या कोई भी हो, तो जो दो कंपनी होती है एक ही प्रोजेक्ट में काम करते हैं तो उसका तो बैलेंस शीट तो एक ही बनेगा ना?
तो वही आपको बता रहा हूँ मैं कि वो डिपेंड करता है प्रोजेक्ट क्या है। ठीक है, डिपेंड करता है कि आपने किस लीगल स्टेटस में उसको क्रिएट किया। तो फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने और आपने सपोज, जैसे तो आप एक फार्मा कंपनी, मैं एक फार्मा कंपनी, हमने डिसाइड किया हम अपनी R&D कर रहे हैं, बट लेट्स क्रिएट अ जेवी। हम लोग आपस में नॉलेज शेयर करेंगे और जिस दिन हमने एक वैक्सीन क्रिएट कर ली उसके बाद जो प्रोडक्शन होगी वो अपनी अपनी कंपनीज में होगी। तो इसमें क्या बैलेंस शीट बनाओगे आप?
नहीं जो भी जैसे रियल एस्टेट का बिल्डिंग बनाने का हो, बिल्डिंग बनाना हो तो उसमें तो
वो टिपिकल जेवीज नहीं होते हैं, वो सिर्फ टैक्स को बचाने के लिए जेवी दिखाए जाते हैं। वो एक्चुअली एक नई कंपनी फॉर्म कर दी जाती है। But you do not want to meet all those criteria of a company as per Companies Act. That's why you position those like a JV. But वो technically company float कर दी जाती है एक नहीं।
सर ये कंफ्यूजन था। ठीक है सर।
Are we going to cover the consortium part also? And I want to know about, if it is so, then what is the difference between what this consortium part and
आगे नहीं है in terms of your original structure of the program by Marticus, but if you're interested, I can cover. So what is consortium? So for example, so let me explain the consortium from a from a lending perspective समझाता हूँ. So suppose I'm a borrower, ठीक है, I have got a new project, ठीक है, or new order or some kind of a business, let's say from some of the very big international government, ठीक है, it's some 1,000 crore kind of in business, ठीक है, बट उसके लिए मुझे लोन की जरूरत है बिकॉज मैं सेटअप करूंगा, प्रोडक्शन करूंगा, स्टफ लाइक दिस. सो मैं एसबीआई के पास गया, मैंने एसबीआई को कहा मुझे 1,000 करोड़ का एक बिल है, तो एसबीआई ने कहा ठीक है, तो मैंने कहा मुझे 500 करोड़ का लोन दे दो. सो मेरे पास सब एसेट्स हैं, कोलैटरल है, क्रेडिबिलिटी है, गारंटर है, सब कुछ है. सो आई हैव रिलेवेंट डॉक्यूमेंट्स, रिलेवेंट एसेट एंड रिलेवेंट क्रेडिट रेटिंग for me to satisfy SBI. But SBI बोलता है कि मैं 500 करोड़ का लोन एक जने को नहीं दे सकता बिकॉज मेरी टोटल लेंडिंग कैपेसिटी 500 करोड़ की, मैं सारा का सारा एक लोन दे दूंगा तो मेरा डाइवर्सिफिकेशन पोर्टफोलियो खराब हो जाएगा. दीपक, यहाँ तक कोई डाउट?
No, no, no.
तो SBI ने कहा मैं आपको 100 करोड़ दे सकता हूँ. तो मैंने कहा 100 करोड़ नहीं चाहिए, मुझे 500 करोड़ चाहिए. मैं ICICI के पास गया, ICICI ने भी मुझे सेम चीज बोली कि मेरा टोटल लोन की लेंडिंग बुक की मेरी 500 करोड़ की, मैं सारा आपको नहीं दे सकता, मैं आपको 100 करोड़ और दे दूंगा. And the same goes with HDFC, same goes with Axis, same goes so on. So what I understood that no bank, in spite of the fact I have a capacity to raise 500 crores, but no bank will be able to give me individually 500 crores. So what I will do, I will get into a consortium arrangement. इसको loan syndication भी बोला जाता है. ठीक है,
Exactly.
Indian
Yes, yes.
language में.
Syndication of
UK मार्केट्स में जो लीगल टर्म उसको कंसोर्टियम यूज किया जाता है. सो डोंट गेट कंफ्यूज, लीगल टर्म अलग अलग है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द मार्केट्स. इंडिया में इसको लोन सिंडिकेशन बोला जाता है. सो मैं दोनों टर्म समझा रहा हूँ आपको. सो मैं जाऊंगा एसबीआई को, मैं एसबीआई को बोलूंगा ठीक है तुम मुझे 100 करोड़ का लोन दो, बट यू एक्ट एज ए लीड बैंकर विद मी विद अ कंसोर्टियम और विद अ लोन सिंडिकेशन अरेंजमेंट. सो व्हाट विल हैपन दैट एसबीआई विल गिव मी 100 crores, ICICI will give me 100 crore, HDFC will give me 100 crores, and ऐसी 5 बैंक मुझे 100 crores दे देंगे. तो 500 बैंक का एक ग्रुप मिल जाएगा और वो ग्रुप को कंसोर्टियम बोलते हैं या सिंडिकेशन बोलते हैं. तो मुझे 500 करोड़ मिल जाएंगे, मेरा पर्पस सॉल्व हो गया. मुझे 500 करोड़ चाहिए थे, बट इंडिविजुअली इन सब बैंक्स का पर्पस भी सॉल्व हो गया बिकॉज वो इंडिविजुअली 100 करोड़ से ज्यादा लोन देने के लिए कंफर्टेबल नहीं थे, तो उन्होंने 100 करोड़ के लोन दिए. तो दोनों का पर्पस सॉल्व हो जाता है, एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड एज कंसोर्टियम और लोन सिंडिकेशन, जो भी आप बोलना चाहें. तो अब मैं फ्यूचर में जब रीपेमेंट्स करूंगा, सपोज जब मैं 100 करोड़ की रीपेमेंट करूंगा, तो उसमें डिफाइंड होता है एग्रीमेंट में कि किस प्रायोरिटी में पेमेंट होगी. पहले एसबीआई को होगी, पहले एचडीएफसी को होगी, और the second type of consortium that we do is a pro rata basis. कि मैं जब पहले रीपेमेंट करूंगा, माय फर्स्ट रीपेमेंट इज फॉर लेट्स से फॉर 1 करोड़, तो पांचों बैंक को इक्वली 1 करोड़ डिवाइड होकर जाएगी. सो वो डिसाइड होता है कि किस तरीके की रीपेमेंट का कैटेगराइजेशन होगा या प्रायोरिटी होगा. दोनों टाइप्स के वर्क करते हैं इंडिया में. दीपक, any doubt in this consortium?
No, right now not. But what creates a legal binding between now coming up with JV? What creates a legal binding to if in middle of the something they are coming up with the two companies are coming up to fulfill a mutual goal, we can define it as a JV. If one company doesn't fulfill, any legal binding is there that they have to perform or what?
देखो, लीगल बाइंडिंग तो होती है, ठीक है. The two parts to legal binding. One is documentation piece of law. For example, जैसे between this Bajaj and Mahindra, the legal binding is they enter into an agreement. Okay, we will share this, and you will share this, and the objective is this. So we will give this much of time, we will give this much of resources, we will give this, and you have to give this. And once we create the blueprint, then we will go back and we will do this. This is the way the agreement is being created. Now, the second part is, अब अगर कोई one of the parties is not following that agreement, उसका आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते। और वो जेवी स्पेसिफिक इशू नहीं है, वो तो किसी में भी इशू हो सकता है। आपकी कंपनी ने आपको ऑनबोर्ड किया, आपसे एक ऑफर लेटर साइन करा, तो वो लीगल बाइंडिंग होगा। उस ऑफर लेटर में लिखा हुआ 3 महीने का नोटिस पीरियड सर्व करना है। अब आप कहते हो मैं तो सर्व नहीं करूंगा थोड़े दिन के बाद, तो वो आपको रोक नहीं सकती, वो आपको ज्यादा से ज्यादा कोर्ट में ले जा सकती है। दैट इज व्हाट कैन पॉसिबल इन दिस सिनेरियो आल्सो। So there is a legal binding, there is an agreement that's being signed. If any of the party is not following that agreement, what has been signed, the other party has full right to take that to the court of law. But that issue is not specific to JV. That issue is applicable in merger as well. That issue is applicable in acquisition as well. वो तो कहीं पे भी हो सकता है ना। रियल एस्टेट में प्रॉपर्टी सेल की बात भी हो सकता है। आपने प्रॉपर्टी के पैसे दे दिए किसी को, आपने उससे अपने प्रॉपर्टी रजिस्टर करा लिया, सब कुछ करा लिया, उसके बाद भी वो घर खाली नहीं कर रहा है, ऐसा तो वहां पे भी हो सकता है ना।
Okay, we can proceed further on that.
Anybody else, any other question?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir, is consortium is always related to like lending by financial institutions?
No, not necessary. So consortium, we've done consortium in the capacity of the underwriting as well. We have done consortium in the capacity of the project construction as well. So अलग अलग टाइप से कंसोर्टियम होते हैं डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द रियल एस्टेट में बहुत कॉमन है ये। सो रियल एस्टेट में लेट्स अज्यूम एक बहुत बड़ा कमर्शियल कॉम्प्लेक्स बन रहा है, एक बड़ा मॉल बन रहा है, ठीक है। सो दैट विल रिक्वायर प्रॉब्ली बिग इन्वेस्टमेंट, करेक्ट। और वो बिग इन्वेस्टमेंट जनरली एक इंडिविजुअल कंपनी की कैपेसिटी में नहीं है। Think of like this कि I'm not sure whether you are from Delhi NCR or Mumbai segment, but think of a scenario where there's a big construction, a commercial segments which is under construction, और एक इंडिविजुअल कंपनी की कैपेसिटी से ज्यादा हो जा रहा है इन टर्म्स ऑफ फंडिंग, वहां पर भी कंसोर्शियम लगाया जाता है ना।
Okay.
कंसोर्टियम का मतलब है where more than one entity or more than one company coming together and all of these are working towards that common goal. Could be lending, could be investment, could be construction, could be underwriting, and stuff like this. Could be distribution
Okay,
also. Distribution में भी होता है, retail side में, FMCG में बहुत common है consortium distribution network.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else, anything in the JV? So yesterday we discussed about merger and acquisition. Today we discussed about JV. So anything on this, because these are the 3 important terms that you need to understand. कुछ पूछना है किसी को इसमें, इन तीनों में कोई डाउट हो तो पूछो। Okay. So you guys know generally these M&As are primarily driven by these two reasons. One is your top line and second is your bottom line. So top line is your revenue and bottom line is your profit. So the top line is your sales or revenue, then you have cost, and then I have profit, that. So this is your bottom line, this is your top line. Okay. Now, the first objective of this M&A is to increase the sales. Where your objective is to increase the sales. So for example, well, क्या deals discuss कर रहे थे हम लोग, हाँ जैसे Vodafone discuss कर रहे थे. So when Vodafone acquired Hutch, their objective was to increase the sales, because when Vodafone will acquire Hutch, Vodafone will be able to start offering products and services in the Indian markets. So that will increase their market share, that will increase their sales. Of course, increase in sales will percolate in some period of down, will percolate down in some period of time, and will start creating this pad moving up. But what I'm trying to explain, the primary objective was this. उसका net result impact यही होने वाला है, that I understand. Let me give another example. If you are acquiring a loss-making company, when you're acquiring a loss-making company, or when you're acquiring a company which is shut down company, बंद पड़ी है company. When you acquire those companies, let me get a different color marker to this. So when you acquire a loss-making company or a shutdown company, over there your objective is not sales. Your company तो बंद पड़ी है, sales कहाँ से आने वाली है? Your objective is when you acquire those company, you are able to decrease your cost from a tax perspective. तो अगर sales उतना ही रहता है, but cost कम हो जाता है, तो PAT बढ़ जाता है. ये होता है bottom line, where your objective is not to increase the sales, but your objective is to increase the profit. So these are the two primary reasons because of which broad categories of the reason because of which you would be able to generally the motivation of an M&A would be able to we would be able to fit in either of these two categories. Either when you're looking for increase in sales, and second is you're not running behind the sales, your primary objective is to increase the profit, which is bottom line. Any question, any doubt in this?
Sir, can you give another example of loss-making company? Hello.
Any questions? Okay. In case no, so
Sir, can you give another example of the loss-making company? Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm audible.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, can you give another example of the loss-making company? Sir, I'm saying, can you give another example of the loss-making company?
See, another strategy could be for a bottom line approaches where you're trying to get some subsidy out of so suppose will explain this on a no name basis because this deal is not yet out in the public, but let me explain you without names. So let's do X and Y. So now company Y has some government subsidies. You understand subsidies? So government कुछ advantage देती है आपको, ठीक है? तो कंपनी Y के पास कुछ गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडीज है, X के पास नहीं है. Now the objective of X acquiring company Y is to get an advantage of this. ये गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडी से क्या होगा, मेरी सेल्स पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा, बट मेरी कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगी and मेरा profit will start moving up. So this is another strategy or another reason which will fit into the bottom line acquisition. So loss making एक example था. It's not like always loss making company acquisition ही bottom line होगा, वो एक example. The other example could be like subsidies. ये the reason I'm not taking name because ये अभी out नहीं हुआ, but that's also one combination that is possible.
So, sir, it is basically depends upon the situation, what the company wants.
Of course, and primary reason is that in a bottom line, your primary motive is to increase the profit, and that is being achieved not to take, that is being achieved not by taking care of the sales, but that is being achieved by reducing the cost. That's bottom line approach. Top line is where you are increasing your sales.
Okay, sir.
Now, so there are two types of growth: organic growth and inorganic growth. So let me first explain inorganic growth. So inorganic growth is what you achieve through M&A. For example, if your company sales is 100 crore turnover, and you acquire another company. The moment you acquire another company, that means another company that you're acquiring had a turnover of another 50 crores. So जैसे आप acquire करते हो, आपकी company की total turnover 150 crores हो जाएगी. So you grow by 50%, but the growth is an inorganic growth because you achieve that growth through acquisition or through merger. The organic growth is कि आप 100 crores पे हो, आप खुद अपने business को expand कर रहे हो, marketing कर रहे हो, 100 crores से आप 105 पे जाते हो, फिर 120 पे जाते हो, फिर 150 पे जाते हो. आप naturally खुद ही grow कर रहे हो धीरे 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 धीरे. That's called as organic growth. Any doubt in this? Is organic and inorganic clear to everyone? The problem with the organic is it takes a lot of time and resources. Of course, inorganic also takes resources, but inorganic generally does not take too much of a time because आपको सब readily available मिलता है. तो आपको वो कंपनी को जाके आप खरीद लेते हो, तो of course it requires resources, but you don't need to spend too much of time because you automatically achieve what you want to achieve, or you automatically grow in a very short span of time. So the limitation for the organic is time and resources, and for the inorganic, of course, you will still need resources, but you will be able to save some time. Now, be it an organic growth, be it inorganic growth, both will require funds. Both will require funds. There's no doubt about this. Okay, and those funds can come from two sources. One could be an equity. Now, equity has two sources. One is private equity and public equity. We've discussed this at length. And second source of funds is debt. Any doubt in this? So discuss public equity, we have discussed private equity. So those are two categories of equity, and we've discussed debt. So unless you have any question, I would not go back into this public equity and private equity. We have discussed this, correct? Public equity, private equity. Guys, we have discussed public equity, private equity.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Okay. So any doubt on this slide? Okay. Now let's come to this buy side and sell side concept. Now, what happens? You need to understand from a research perspective. Now, so suppose when you're doing a research and when you come out with an analysis, let me take an example of a research firm. So suppose I'm a part of the research team. I'm a research analyst, and I work for a research organization. मैंने analysis किया that ये company अच्छा है, इस stock को खरीदना चाहिए या इस stock को बेचना चाहिए या stock को avoid करना चाहिए, whatever. I've done the research. And let's assume मैं अभी निमेश के पास आया, निमेश मेरा client है, निमेश को मैंने बोला, sir, we've done research and according to us, you should buy this stock. Now, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to sell my idea, or I'm trying to sell my research. I'm trying to sell my analysis to Nimesh. That's why I am working. I'm called as that I'm working on the sell side. समझ आया आप लोगों को? guys?
Yes, yes, sir.
Now निमेश क्या कर रहा है? निमेश एग्री हो जाता है कि हाँ प्रशांत, आई लाइक योर आइडिया, आई लाइक योर एनालिसिस, और आई लाइक योर पिच, बोलते हैं इसको, पिच बोलते हैं हम लोग इसको. सो मैंने उसको प्रेजेंटेशन दिया पिच करके. सो ही लाइक्स दैट एंड ही सेज ओके, आई विल गो अहेड एंड buy that stock. Now then Dinesh is acting on a buy side. He's not acting on the buy, he's not on the buy side because he's buying the stock. No, even if my research says that Dinesh should sell the stock and he agrees and he says okay, I will sell the stock, he will still be on the buy side because he's on the buy side because he's buying my research and idea, not because he's buying the stock or selling the stock. Guys, ये बहुत important है. इंटरव्यू में 90% of the candidate goof up on this. उनसे पूछो बाय साइड सेल साइड रिसर्च क्या होता है, वो बोलते हैं अगर आप बाय कर रहे हो स्टॉक तो बाय साइड हो गया, सेल कर रहे हो सेल साइड हो गया. ये वो नहीं है. बाय साइड मींस यू आर बाइंग द आइडिया, यू बाइंग द एनालिसिस. वेदर द एनालिसिस इज बाय और सेल, that's separate story. And sell side is where you are somebody who you're working to sell your idea to the client. Whether that idea is buy or sell again doesn't make a difference. Is this clear to everyone? Buy side and sell side research. Anybody any doubt on this?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Subhash.
Sir, can you give me some brief about the sell side and buy side?
Sorry?
Can you give me any another example, sell side and buy side researcher?
हाँ, so another example is to suppose आप एक आपको पोर्टफोलियो चाहिए, ठीक है, you go to a portfolio management company and say can you I want your help in constructing my portfolio. ठीक है, मेरे पास $10 लाख है या $10 million है, आप मुझे बताओ कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. That company does an analysis and tells you कि यहाँ इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. Then the company who's doing analysis becomes a sell side and you become a buy side. That's the reason you will see mutual funds, hedge fund, all of these are on the buy side because they buy the idea from the research companies.
This means this is the buy side researcher, na? We can say.
Yeah.
And sell side, this means sell side researcher.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any questions out on this slide? Okay. Now, when you're looking at M&A, these are the different phases of the business where you start and then slowly grow and you reach maturity and there's a transformation and there's a decline. नहीं है यहाँ पे slide में, but after this, one phase is possible, like the decline, where you start falling down. That's also possible. So my question is that out of these different phases, according to you, where's merger and acquisition will happen? In which phase you will see more merger and acquisitions? Which phase of the
Sir, at
business
growth
cycle?
level.
And why at a growth level?
सब बेसिकली जब कंपनी ग्रो कर रही हो, जब कंपनी ग्रो करती है सो फॉर द एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ, और जैसा कि हम लोग ने पीछे ही पढ़ा कि दो तरीके से ग्रोथ हो सकती है, एक ऑर्गेनिक, एक इनऑर्गेनिक. सो इनऑर्गेनिक वे में अगर बात करें मर्जर एंड एक्विजिशन आता है, तो ग्रोथ के लिए कंपनी ज्यादा जब ग्रो करना चाहेगी तो ही और मतलब कंपनी कैन चूज इनऑर्गेनिक ग्रोथ, और वो मर्जर एक्विजिशन के थ्रू ग्रो कर सकती है एंड कैन कम टू मैच्योरिटी एंड देन ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन.
Okay.
क्योंकि ग्रोथ के टाइम दोनों मतलब अगर जो दो कंपनीज है, मर्जर या एक्विजिशन जो भी हो रहा है, दोनों कंपनीज को नीड ज्यादा होती है इन माय ओपिनियन टू रीच अ लेवल. सो ग्रोथ के टाइम पे ज्यादा मर्जर एंड एक्विजिशन होंगे.
Okay. Anybody else?
Anywhere after startup, in between growth, maturity, or transformation stages.
After startup, so you're saying apart from startup, grow, the acquisition can happen in growth and maturity. It can also happen in decline.
Yeah, they can decide to merge with someone
Okay.
or to
So
sell themselves.
apart from startup, you're saying everything, everywhere it is possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, anybody else?
After maturity.
Yeah. That's it.
Sorry, Nikhil. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I'm saying like maturity also like where the merger and acquisition can happen, sir, at this level.
Okay. See, the merger and acquisition will happen across. Okay. So, so जो पारुल बोल दिया apart from startup सब जगह होगा, startup में भी होगा. ठीक है. So what will happen? The merger and acquisition, we see merger and acquisition, we structure these into across these business cycles. ऐसा नहीं है कि एक phase में होगा एक में नहीं होता है. But what happens? The nature of the risk and the price changes from each phase. Let me give an example of each of these. When you're acquiring some company at a startup phase, for example, you are one of the big company, but the company that you're acquiring, which is called a target company, that company is a very initial startup phase. If you acquire this company, you will be taking risk because the company is yet to get that growth. The company might be success, might not be success. So you're taking risk. The price at which you will be able to acquire the company is very low. Similarly, if you acquire the company at a growth phase, the company has already achieved the growth, so which means success has been proven by the company. So you're not taking too much of risk. But at the same time, because the target company has now become a big company, vis-a-vis a startup company, acquiring that company will require a lot of resources now. Think of a Paytm. जब Paytm start हुआ था, उसकी valuation, we did the valuation around we did that valuation around that time, and vis-a-vis the valuation that we've done after demonetization and now we've done after the lockdown has completely changed. It has changed n number of times vis-a-vis into these three segments, into three different time zones. Okay. Now, similarly, when a business reaches to the transformation or to a declining phase, again the risk changes because now the business is moving towards a decline. So the risk is whether you will be able to bring this back. There will be different strategies that would require. Of course, the cost will also come because I will not pay something now more for a company which is on the verge of decline. So the summary or the takeaway from this slide is these M&As are possible throughout the business cycle. We've done deals across these cycles, but the associated risk and the price that you pay or the cost that you pay are different, and the kind of challenges that you experience in each of these phases are very different. The kind of an strategy rollout is very different in each of these phases. Haji,
This graph is for acquiring company or a target company?
For that target company. Target company कौन से phase में है? Is this graph is from that perspective. Acquirer किस phase में, वो matter नहीं कर रहा है. So company A is acquiring company B. तो company B startup phase में है या company B growth phase में है या maturity phase में है, decline phase में, that's what we're discussing.
Can we have a similar plot for acquiring company? Can we say that we can have that similar plot for acquiring company? In that case, what will you think that?
So let's assume
what phase they should go for that?
Yeah. So let's assume this graph is for the acquiring company. Okay. So now let me get a different color to this first. Yeah. Now suppose let's take this. So if my acquiring company is at a startup phase, एक्वायरिंग कंपनी स्टार्टअप फेज में तो खुद ही उसके पास पैसा नहीं है, खुद ही स्ट्रगल कर रही है, क्या किसको एक्वायर करेगी जाके? करेक्ट दीपक? The startup phase, you're struggling with cash, you're struggling with your credibility, you're struggling with your market share, you're struggling, you yourself is doubtful of your success कि भैया मैं सक्सेस कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं कर पाऊंगा. So acquisition is completely out of the picture. Now before I go to the other side, in terms of other strategies, Deepak, यहाँ तक कुछ query?
No. The query will come when we'll cover all the 4 parts.
Okay. Now when I move towards the growth phase, okay, now this is the phase where I have moved from my startup, from my struggle time, to a time where I've got the success. Now what will happen in the growth phase? Couple of things. My question mark of whether I will succeed, my idea will succeed or not, that question mark has gone away, and वहाँ पे tick आ गया है, which means I have achieved, at least I've got a success, I've got an acceptance from the market. Okay, so what will happen? My sales would have gone up, revenues will start coming in, and if those revenues have taken care of your cost, and now you're sitting on a surplus cash, because what we've seen in some of the capital intensive business, you might achieve growth, which means the growth is being achieved from a turnover perspective, but because it's so much of capital intensive business, it will take more years for you to start seeing the profit in your P&L. But in some of the less capital intensive business, what we see that the moment you start achieving significant sales, those significant sales immediately absorb your costs or take care of your costs, and you start showing in the profit, start sitting on the cash. Now in this phase, if you're sitting on a cash, you are able to build that position. अब यहाँ पे these kind of companies start looking for an acquisition, because now I want to grow more. अब वो growth के 2 scenarios होते हैं, whether you have a capacity and whether you have resources or a time to grow inorganically or organically. Now let's assume you as an organization might decide कि ठीक है यार, मुझे अभी organic growth पे जाना, I want to grow my brand, I want to build more because I have a capacity, मैंने machinery लगा के रखी है, the machinery has a capacity of 1 lakh units to produce, I have achieved only, let's assume 500 units to produce, so I have a lot of capacity, why should I go and acquire some other company? I still have so what I will do, I will start reinvesting all those cash and surplus back into my business, and I will start growing organically. Case 2, I don't have a time, I want to grow at a very very exponential pace. At the same time market में मुझे कोई अच्छी target company मिल जाती है, then what we do, we generally look at those potentials as well, और मुझे उस पे deal size price पे strike भी होनी चाहिए. A lot of times what we do, that if when our client are into the growth phase, they believe that they wanted to acquire somebody, and we are able to identify certain targets, but जिस price पे हम उसको value करते हैं, जो seller होता है कंपनी का, जो target कंपनी का owner होता है, जो sell कर रहा होता है, वो उस price पे agree नहीं होता, and then you as a company decide you don't want to pay a price which is not justified. So उस scenario में deals कभी-कभी strike through नहीं होती है. But from an acquirer perspective, this is the phase where generally you will see more aggressive nature from an acquirer perspective. When you move towards maturity, यहाँ पे generally maturity वो phase है जहाँ पे आपके revenues dry up होने शुरू हो जाते हैं, आपके जो product हैं वो competition को survive नहीं करते, तो आपको अपने प्रोडक्ट पे बहुत सारे चेंजेस लाने की जरूरत होती है, प्रोडक्ट में इनोवेशन करने की जरूरत होती है, प्रोडक्ट को रीलॉन्च करने की जरूरत होती है, फीचर्स चेंज करने की जरूरत होती है, क्वालिटी चेंज करने की जरूरत होती है. तो यहाँ पे अगर आपके पास वो टेक्नोलॉजी है, वो कैपेसिटी है, तो आप खुद ही ऑर्गेनिकली कर लेते हो. अदरवाइज आपके पास नहीं है तो आप किसी और से या तो जनरली मर्जर की फॉर्म में चले जाते हो या जेवी की फॉर्म में चले जाते हो, क्योंकि मर्जर और जेवी में जनरली पैसा कम लगता है, क्योंकि आप उस कंपनी को पूरा एक्वायर.
So you are not audible.
I also.
What happens in the maturity phase, you are not sitting on a significant cash portion and you're worried कि आगे वाला जो फ्यूचर है वो थोड़ा सा हेजी है, so आप जनरली एक्विजिशन थोड़ा दूर रहते हो और आप मर्जर्स जेवी की तरफ ज्यादा देखते हो. Similarly, when you look at these ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन एंड डिक्लाइन, ठीक है, यहाँ पे अगेन आपके पास अगर रिसोर्सेज है तो आप एक्विजिशन देख सकते हो, बट यहाँ पे जनरली एक्विजिशन ज्यादा सेल आउट होता है कि आप खुद ही, आपको उस प्रोडक्ट पे भरोसा नहीं रहा है, उस बिजनेस आइडिया पे भरोसा नहीं रहा है, तभी आप उसको डिक्लाइन पे ले जाने दे रहे हो, वरना वो डिक्लाइन पे जाता ही नहीं. ठीक है, तो आप सोचते हो यार अब ये प्रोडक्ट मर चुका है, there's no लाइफ लेफ्ट, तो इससे पहले कि ये बिल्कुल ही खत्म हो जाए, लेट मी सेल आउट एंड लेट मी कैश ऑन दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी, और ये जो कैश है मैं अपने किसी और स्टार्टअप या ग्रोथ पोटेंशियल में ले जाता हूँ. सो थियोरेटिकली यहाँ पे एक्विजिशन मर्जर हो सकते हैं, बट इन रियल टर्म्स व्हाट यू सीन, यहाँ जनरली सेल आउट ज्यादा होते हैं. सो दिस इज व्हाट फ्रॉम एन एक्वायरर पर्सपेक्टिव. कुछ डाउट हो तो पूछिए.
No, now it is clear because I was not put my answer to maturity. Just I was thought that this graph is for acquiring part.
नहीं, जो ओरिजिनल ग्राफ स्लाइड्स में है दैट्स फ्रॉम अ टारगेट पर्सपेक्टिव, बट मैंने आपको एक्वायरिंग पर्सपेक्टिव से भी समझा दिया है. सो इन केस स्पेसिफिक in case any query still not addressed, I can take that.
No, right now it is addressed.
ठीक है. Anybody else, any other question before we move? ठीक है. So now most of these acquisitions will happen for a concept called synergy. What do you mean by synergy? Synergy is when you're looking at this equation, that 1 + 1 is more than 2. That's called a synergy concept. So let me give an example of this. So suppose company A and company B. Company A का PAT individually before any merger or acquisition 100 rupees था और B का भी 100 rupees था. Acquisition करने के बाद AB Limited का profit 200 अगर हुआ, so it is of no use. This profit should go to 250 at least, more than 200. That's what I'm trying to explain. So अगर ये 200 हुआ, so there is no synergy, and if it goes more than 200, then this is called a synergy effect. Have you understood the concept of synergy before I go to कि ये आता कहाँ से और sources कैसे होते हैं, कैसे आता है? Only the concept is what is synergy before I explain the strategy behind this. Yeah, people, you're asking me.
Can you please repeat once?
So synergy simply means 1 + 1 is more than 2. So if you as a company is making 100 rupees profit and I'm another company, individually I'm making 100 rupees profit, and we decide to, okay, let's come together. अगर हम दोनों ने साथ काम करना शुरू किया, and if we at the end, after we have merged our individual companies and after the merged company is able to make only profit of 200 rupees, then we have not achieved anything, correct? Because 200 rupees का profit तो हम पहले भी बना रहे थे individually. After getting together, we've not achieved anything. The objective of the merger or an acquisition has to be that if we are making 100 rupees profit, if we bring these together, we will achieve more than 200, and that extra is called a synergy effect. Deepak.
Yes.
Now, from where would you get this synergy? Let's understand those strategies. So, for example, Deepak.
Question.
Yeah, Pab.
This is calculated before the M&A decision or after? It is implied afterwards.
So we do forecasting both sides. So what we do when we're trying to create an M&A structures for the client. So suppose आप मेरे client हो, आप मेरे पास आते हैं कि सर मुझे कंपनी को acquire करना है. Should I do or should I not do? तो जब वो मैं एनालिसिस पारुल आपके लिए करूंगा तो उसमें मैं आपको ये भी कंक्लूड करके दूंगा, एनालिसिस को इंक्लूड करूंगा कि अगर आपने इस कंपनी को खरीदा तो व्हाट वुड बी योर फोरकास्टेड consolidated P&L and the balance sheet. But of course, as you know, this is my forecast. In a real world, it might go for a toss as well. कि you might
Okay, it would be a part of research analysis as well.
वो रिस्क तो आपको लेना ही पड़ेगा ना.
Yeah. Okay.
And then once client, again it depends कि जो हम M&A deals participate करते हैं, what kind of a mandate we get from the client. कभी-कभी M&A deals होते हैं, client बोलता है कि M&A खत्म करने के बाद then I will not pay you anything and I don't need your services, I don't need your consultation. Then we generally step out. We don't continue to support the client. In certain cases, even after M&A के बाद client हम बोलता है stay with me, continue to give support to me, continue to give your advice and consultancy to me. तो हम पोस्ट M&A के बाद भी बहुत सारा एनालिसिस करके क्लाइंट को देते हैं, उसमें ये सब रिफाइन हो जाता है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने M&A से पहले फोरकास्टिंग किया था कि आपका कंसोलिडेटेड P&L ऐसा दिखेगा. M&A करने के बाद ड्यूरिंग द M&A प्रोसेस हमें बहुत सारी और भी इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाती है, उसके बेसिस पे हम उस प्रीवियस फोरकास्ट को एडजस्ट भी करते हैं. And those process continues till the time the client wants you to continue and support. Does this answer?
Okay. Yes. Thanks.
Okay. So the example that I was giving. So suppose if I have a company and that's in Parul ka company. So we have two individual companies. Okay. Or we decide, okay, let's merge this company. So that's in Parul का दिल्ली में ऑफिस है, मेरा भी दिल्ली में ऑफिस है, करेक्ट. एक हमारा मुंबई में ऑफिस है, पारुल का भी मुंबई में ऑफिस है, ठीक है. सो नाउ जब हमने मर्ज कर दिया तो अभी मर्ज करने के बाद इस मर्ज कंपनी के दो ऑफिस हो जाएंगे दिल्ली में, एक जो पहले पारुल का था, एक जो मेरा था. नाउ वी डोंट नीड two offices for the same company in Delhi. अगर हमारा स्ट्रैटेजी है, हमारा नेचर ऑफ द बिजनेस है कि एक स्टेट में एक ऑफिस से काम हो जाता है, तो करेक्ट. सो आई विल नॉट हैव टू ऑफिसेस. व्हाट विल हैपन, आई विल गिव अवे the one office which will save on my rentals, but at the same time कस्टमर और रेवेन्यू तो उतना ही रहेगा ना, बिकॉज जो सपोज हमने डिसाइड किया, ओके पारुल का ऑफिस छोटा था, लेट दैट गो अवे, एंड जो मेरा ऑफिस है वो बड़ा है, तो जो पारुल के एम्प्लॉइज है वो वहां शिफ्ट हो जाएंगे, एंड पारुल के जो एग्जिस्टिंग कस्टमर्स है उनको विल गिव कॉन्टैक्ट एंड एड्रेस ऑफ आवर न्यू ऑफिस, ठीक है. सो इफ दैट विल हैपन, और इट इज ऑल्सो पॉसिबल कि हम दोनों के ऑफिस छोटे छोटे हैं, हम दोनों के अलग वो ऑफिस को गिव अप करके एक बड़ा ऑफिस ले लें, द कॉस्ट विल कम डाउन because you're rather than maintaining two properties, you're focusing and bringing everyone together into one property. So ये सब एडवांटेजेस हैं जो कॉस्ट के आपको मिलेंगे. फिर आपको दो सिक्योरिटी गार्ड की जरूरत नहीं है, दो HR हेड की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज पारुल कंपनी में एक HR हेड होगा, मेरी कंपनी में HR हेड होगा, एक फाइनेंस हेड उधर होगा, एक फाइनेंस हेड इधर होगा, एक प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर उधर होगा, एक प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर. दो सैलरीज क्यों देनी है, बट एट द सेम आपकी सेल्स पे कोई इंपैक्ट नहीं होगा, बिकॉज जो उधर कस्टमर थे और जो इधर कस्टमर सब एक ही जगह आने वाले हैं. So what will happen when we merge these two companies, all these benefits will come in, which in turn will keep the same sales, at least same sales अगर हम assume करते हैं, कुछ हम कर भी नहीं रहे हैं तो, but मेरे को cost में advantage मिलेगा, hence my profit will move up, and that's what brings synergy. Guys, कोई doubt यहाँ पे? So these are the examples, or these are the sources of the synergy. So staff reduction, I have explained. It's the same example जो मैंने आपको दिया. So I will we will not have two HR heads, we will not have two security staff, we will not have two production heads, production manager, stuff like this. So all this will reduce in the staff cost, because वो कम हो जाएगा, but at the same time it will not reduce my sales, hence my profit will continue to move up. At the same time I will be able to get advantage. Any doubt on first point, staff reduction?
Yes. The target company or acquiring company, will it make a difference to reduction of staff in either? Can be done in either, can be in acquiring and can be in target.
हाँ कोई भी हो सकता है ना, वो तो वी आर नॉट, जब एक बार एक मर्जर हो गया या एक्विजिशन हो गया तब तो अलग अलग रही ही नहीं ना, सब एक ही बन गया. एंड देन यू विल टेक अ कॉल और मैनेजमेंट विल टेक अ कॉल कि किसको हटाना है किसको रखना है, बट डेफिनेटली एक तो हटेगा ही ना, तो वो जो हटेगा उसकी कॉस्ट तो आपकी सेविंग होगी ना. गाइस हाँ या ना, ठीक है. इन केस नो क्वेश्चन, सो सेकंड इज द कंपटीशन एलिमिनेशन. सो कंटिन्यू विद द सेम एग्जांपल, सो इफ आई हैव मर्ज्ड माय कंपनी विद द पैरेलल कंपनी, सो उससे पहले हम दोनों कॉम्पिटिटर्स थे, हम दोनों एक दूसरे से फाइट करते होंगे, एडवर्टीजमेंट कैंपेन्स, प्राइसिंग, प्राइस वॉर्स, हम दोनों आपस में कम्पीट करते होंगे. लेट्स वी आर द बिग प्लेयर्स. सो और दिल्ली हमारी एक प्राइमरी मार्केट है, मुंबई हमारी एक प्राइमरी मार्केट है, तो हम उसमें आपस में कम्पीट, उसमें खर्चा लगता है, एफर्ट लगता है, टाइम लगता है. अब हम दोनों एक ही कंपनी बन गए, सो विल सेव ऑन दोस कॉस्ट, विल नॉट फाइट अगेंस्ट ईच अदर, प्लस वी टुगेदर हैज बिकम अ बिग मच बिगर कंपनी. तो हम और जो छोटी कंपनीज है उनको आसानी से कंपटीशन उनका एलिमिनेट कर सकते हैं. सो दैट्स अगेन एन एडवांटेज दैट आई विल गेट. Third is economies of scale. Economies of scale means when you start producing a large quantity and that results in the lower cost of production per unit. So of course this is self-explanatory. So if I merge two companies, so individually suppose मैं 100 units produce कर रहा था, पारुल भी 100 units produce कर रही थी. For us to achieve economies of scale, minimum production requires 190 units. तो पहले पारुल भी individually achieve नहीं कर पा रही थी, मैं भी नहीं कर पा रहा था, but हमने merge कर दिया. So our total production is now 200 units, which is beyond, which is good enough to achieve the economies of scale, and hence we as a one company will not able to achieve economies of scale. Fourth, acquiring new technology. So let's assume पारुल के पास कोई टेक्नोलॉजी है जो मेरे पास नहीं है, मेरे पास कोई टेक्नोलॉजी है जो पारुल के पास नहीं है, vice versa. Once we bring this company together, we will be able to take advantage from each other's technology, correct? And that will benefit both of us. Both of us, क्या आप तो एक ही कंपनी है, that will benefit a new merged company, and hence it will bring some synergy effect. That too without any additional cost, because पारुल के पास अगर वो टेक्नोलॉजी है तो मेरे को अब उसको यूज करने के लिए किसी को पैसा पे नहीं करना पड़ेगा. सिमिलरली इफ पारुल वांट्स टू यूज आवर टेक्नोलॉजी, शी डोंट हैव टू पे एनीथिंग. अदरवाइज मर्जर से पहले मुझे वो टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए खर्चा करना पड़ता है, या मुझे इन हाउस बिल्ड करनी पड़ती है तो भी कॉस्ट लगती है, अगर बाहर से खरीदता तो भी कॉस्ट लगती है. इम्प्रूव मार्केट रीच. लेट्स अज्यूम पहले पारुल का ऑफिस मुंबई में, मेरा ऑफिस मुंबई में नहीं था, मेरा ऑफिस दिल्ली में था, बट पारुल का दिल्ली में नहीं था. द मोमेंट वी मर्ज दीस टू एंटिटीज, we have a presence in Mumbai, and at the same time we have a presence in Delhi as well. So your market reach has gone up. Let's think of an international market. So let's assume Parul has a business in let's assume Singapore markets. We have a business in Indian market. So the moment we come together, what will happen? We have, for a new company, you have a presence in Singapore as well as India. So your market reach has gone up. You have got a bigger visibility into that industry and sector because you have now international presence as well. So any doubt on this slide? Any other synergy? Yeah, Nimesh.
Sir, in case of economy of scale, if suppose you told like there is 190 and we have started producing 200, so we reached the economy of scale. In case we were unable to reach that level, so we have the loss of in the merger and acquisition.
Sorry, I didn't understand. Could you repeat your question?
Sir, for the economy of scale, suppose there can be a certain case that we can't reach at the level of economy of scale, the required economy of scale. In that case, what impact will happen on the merger or the acquisitions?
हाँ, so जरूरी नहीं है कि after merger in every case after merger and acquisition every case will result in economies of scale. That's not what I said. In case even after merger you are not able to achieve economies of scale, that's what you need to analyze before you take a call whether you should go for a merger or not. Because ठीक है, economies of scale में कोई और synergy तो हो रहा होगा ना, staff reduction हो रहा होगा, competition elimination हो रहा होगा, नई टेक्नोलॉजी, कुछ ना कुछ तो synergy आपको मिल रहा होगा. So if that synergy is good enough and is good enough and it's worth for going for an M&A, then you will go for an M&A. If you believe कि ये synergy economies of scale important है और इसको कोई और synergy compensate नहीं कर सकता, then you cannot go for an M&A.
Okay, so so we have to in the analysis or the research we have to decide that what is the important for us for the M&As, and we have to prioritize that. According to that we can go for.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sir.
Hello.
Yes, Marsh.
Sir, in this chapter, can started to practical also, otherwise going on a theoretical.
तो बस आपका आवाज इतना क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है. Need to speak a little closer to mic.
Hello. Can you audible, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Can you audible?
Yeah.
Sir, is chapter में M&A chapter में क्या practical भी हम करेंगे या theoretical भी चलेगा?
If I heard your question correctly, you're asking me, I think कि practical करेंगे कि हम theory करेंगे. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So अभी निमिष, can you go on mute please? So अभी हम जो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं M&A क्या होता है, हम ये डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. क्या डिफरेंट टाइप्स के M&A होते हैं, क्या डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. ये आपके प्रोग्राम की, आपकी इस पूरी जर्नी की फर्स्ट पार्ट है. ठीक है. Once before I take you to the calculations, I take you to the Excel sheets, I take you to the modeling and forecasting and valuation, which is entire calculation oriented. पहले तो मुझे समझ नहीं आता what do you mean by practical. So again, this goes back to those questions asked by the school kids की practical. So if your understanding of the practical is कि जब हम calculation करेंगे उसको practical आप बोल रहे हो, और जो हम नॉन कैलकुलेशन, हाँ तो ये थ्योरी है. फिर अगर आप उस तरीके से देखते हो तो ठीक है. सो आई डोंट लुक एट फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव. ठीक है. सो फॉर मी द प्रैक्टिकल इज नॉट क्वेश्चंस और न्यूमेरिकल्स. फॉर मी द प्रैक्टिकल इज that you're understanding a concept, but are you able to correlate it in terms of what's happening in the industry, whether वो words में समझो या वो numbers के through समझो. To me that still is a practical. ठीक है. बट अगर आपके लिए प्रैक्टिकल है वो न्यूमेरिकल की हम क्वेश्चंस कब करेंगे, कि जैसे मैं M&A कर रहा था, M&A क्वेश्चन कब करेंगे, वैल्यूएशन क्वेश्चन करेंगे, वो बहुत आगे आएगा जब आप वहां पहुंचोगे, और अगर पहुंचोगे तो वो तब आएगा.
Okay, fine.
Any other question before I move to the next slide? So there are different types of an M&A. Now, so horizontal, vertical, and conglomerate. So let me start with horizontal. So I'm thinking of a single example. So yeah. So let's do this. So if Maruti Suzuki India Private Limited, let's acquire Honda, okay, Indian entity of Honda. So that's a horizontal acquisition. When one company acquires another company into same business line, same product line. So Maruti भी कार सेगमेंट, ऑटो कार सेगमेंट में है, Honda India भी कार सेगमेंट में है. ठीक है. So if they acquire, if one company acquires another company which are into same business segment, same product line, so that's called as horizontal acquisition or horizontal M&A. Case 2, if Maruti Suzuki acquires MRF. MRF is a tire manufacturing company. Maruti is a car manufacturing company. So MRF, before acquisition, is a supplier to Maruti. So if Maruti is acquiring some other company which is into the supply chain, which is into his own supply chain, then it becomes a vertical integration. Now, the example that I gave you where Maruti acquires MRF, it's a backward integration because Maruti को कार बनाने में टायर्स की जरूरत होती है. So they are moving a step backward. They are acquiring a company which gives them a raw material, which gives them a supplies of the product, which in turn is used for producing finished products. So if Maruti acquires MRF, that's a vertical integration, and this is under vertical you have two types, two subtypes. One is a forward and one is backwards. This is an example of a backward integration. So any doubt in horizontal, vertical before I go to conglomerate?
Example for forward what integration could be merging with the distributors.
Okay. So conglomerate is if Maruti acquires DLF, so Maruti is into the auto sector, DLF is in the real estate sector. These are completely two different segments, not related to each other in any sense. So if Maruti acquires conglomerate, if Maruti acquires DLF, so that's an example of a conglomerate. So conglomerate means when you're acquiring a company which is completely unrelated, neither in terms of supply chain, neither in terms of the product line. That becomes a conglomerate. Just to summarize this, horizontally, when you're acquiring a company into the same product line, so Maruti vis-a-vis Honda. Vertical, when you are acquiring somebody who is either a supplier to you or somebody who's a customer to you. So if you're acquiring your supplier, it becomes a backward integration because you're taking a step back. If you're acquiring your customer, then you are taking a step forward, then it becomes a forward integration. So for example, अगर MRF Maruti को acquire कर ले, so that's a forward integration for MRF. And conglomerate is where you're completely buying out something which is unrelated. Maruti acquiring DLF. Okay, that's an example of conglomerate. So any questions on this slide? Okay. So now just giving you a little practical part of this when we structure these transactions. So if I go back to this graph, जो हम discuss कर रहे थे. Now, generally, your conglomerate-oriented acquisitions will happen here. इस वाले phases में आपको conglomerate दिखेंगे, because आप generally अपने business से आपकी hope खत्म हो चुकी है, तो generally you start looking at some other businesses. So that's one. Second, conglomerate could be here also. कि आपके इतना पैसा आ गया है कि आपको लगता है अपने business में अब और investment की जरूरत नहीं है. You've achieved the growth that you want to achieve, but you're still sitting on huge cash, and you start looking at some opportunities, some other business opportunities. Conglomerates you will never see into this segments. ये acquirer के perspective से है, ठीक है? And generally you will not see into this segments. Any doubt? I'm just trying to give you a little practical application of combining this with this the concept of different types of an M&A. This one. So I'm trying to combine this slide with this graph slide. This. ठीक है. Similarly, आपको चलिए जो वर्टिकल है वो यहाँ मिलेगा आपको वर्टिकल, और यहाँ भी मिलेगा वर्टिकल आपको, क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपकी सेल्स ड्राई अप होती हैं, टू सर्वाइव यू वांट टू फोकस ऑन द कॉस्ट, किसी तरीके से आप कॉस्ट को कम कर दो। तो जनरली यू लुक फॉर अ वर्टिकल इंटीग्रेशन। वर्टिकल इंटीग्रेशन क्या होता है, अपनी सप्लाई चेन को मैनेज करके कॉस्ट को कम कर देते हैं, ठीक है। So that's the linkages between these two slides. Any questions, any doubt? ठीक है, valuation हम लोग करेंगे when we get to level 2. So we are not doing valuation right now. So this entire calculation of the price, DCF, ये सब हम बाद में करेंगे. Yeah, some of the examples अगर आपको पढ़ने हो, टाटा कोरस डील है या some of the other examples in terms of पढ़ने तो आप पढ़ सकते हो. So what I want to close yeah, so correct. So yeah, so Tata Chorus, I don't know whether you're aware, whether you read this case study or not. If no, so there are a couple of slides, you can read this case. But primary जो issues हुए थे, there was cultural difference because Tata being an Indian entity and Chorus being a non-Indian, there was a difference in terms of culture. So that's what one of the biggest issues. There was a lot of labor issues because the labor laws in India vis-a-vis the labor law in the other country was completely different. So there was a lot of protest by the employees of the labor of the Chorus because, of course, these steel segments are as labor-intensive businesses. So they had a lot of concern in terms of if this acquisition happens, whether we'll be asked to leave the job, stuff like this. So there was those conditions and economic condition again. I strongly believe the Tata paid a price much higher than what Chorus was worth. Okay, and that's the reason why you bought a good company, but you've bought a good company at a very high price, which makes the deal more problematic from a financial perspective. So these are some of the reasons because of which Tata is still bleeding as far as this deal is concerned. In case you've not read this case or interested in reading this, there's a full case available in these couple of previous slides. There's a lot of case study material available on your portal as well for those who are interested, because it's a big case you want to read, you can read or discuss something with me, more than happy to take that as well. Okay, so yeah, we'll keep in this rather than starting the next section, which will start in the next class. कुछ पूछना है before we close? Any questions out, guys?
Sir, what
Hello?
is alliance like?
Anyways, go ahead.
Sir, what is alliance like? We read the Starbucks alliance of Tata. So what is alliance?
Alliance का मतलब होता है you're trying to show an association. So alliance is a so for example, if I'm saying Starbucks is an alliance of Tata, which means you're trying to say कि Tata का ये product है, Tata का association है हमारे brand से. That's called as alliance. Alliance means so if I can say I have an alliance with you, which means we have some kind of an association. वो association क्या है exactly, वो JV की form में है कि partnership की form में, मैं वो आपको बताने की जरूरत नहीं समझता, but मैं alliance बोलूँ मतलब आपका मेरा relationship है.
Okay.
Alliance is a much generic term rather than using a specific legal term to this.
Okay, so can it be like in India there is a alliance, Starbucks and Tata is having alliance. In some other countries, Starbucks can have alliance with another company as well.
हो सकता है if that is allowed in the terms and condition. अगर टाटा ने स्टारबक्स के साथ ऐसा अलायंस करा कि आप किसी और के साथ अलायंस नहीं कर सकते, अगर मेरे साथ किया तो फिर नहीं कर सकते. अगर if the terms and condition of that alliance allows that okay in other country you can do that, then it's okay. It depends on the legal terms.
Okay.
Okay. Chaliye. So we'll keep it till this point. We'll continue the next class. So those who are interested in reading the Tata Chorus case, please पढ़ लीजिएगा. I'm more than happy to discuss in the next class. अगर आप लोग interested हैं और आप पढ़ पाते हैं तो. Otherwise, we'll continue in the next class. चलिए, thanks, bye.
Thank you, sir.